Princess Diana, known for her warmth, beauty and compassion, was loved all around the world. She had a way of lighting up every room she walked into and became the center of media attention wherever she went. But on that tragic night in Paris, everything changed. The car crash that ended her life shocked people everywhere. For many, it didn't feel real. Even after hearing the news, some couldn't believe it, refusing to accept that she was truly gone. 4 years, her final resting place remained untouched and private. But recently, her tomb was quietly reopened. This wasn't done for royal attention or drama. It happened after months of careful discussions. There were growing questions from the public, scientists, and legal experts, questions that never really went away over the past 27 years. To keep things fair and neutral, an independent team of forensic specialists was brought in. They had no ties to the royal family. The group was led by Dr. Amelia Carver, a respected forensic anthropologist known for her careful work on major cases. Her goal wasn't to cause controversy, but to uncover the truth using modern tools and techniques that didn't exist back in 1997. When the team opened Diana's lead-lined coffin, they found it in nearly the same condition as it had been when buried. That special coffin had slowed down decomposition, making it possible to examine her remains in greater detail than ever before. The team found many of the injuries matched the official reports: broken bones, internal bleeding, and trauma, all consistent with a serious car accident. But then they found a few things that raised eyebrows. Some injuries didn't seem to match what was known about the crash. A few looked like they might have happened after the accident, not during it. That suggested she may have been moved or handled after the crash in a way that wasn't fully explained before. Another concern was missing information in her medical records from the hospital. Some parts were blank, and others seemed to have been removed entirely. The scientists didn't rush to any conclusions, but these details couldn't be ignored. They raised new, serious questions. Why were records incomplete? Why didn't all the injuries match the story we've been told for years? Among Diana's personal items buried with her, one stood out: a small, elegant jewelry box. It didn't look very special at first. But inside it was a piece of paper, yellowed with age and carefully folded. The handwriting was clearly Diana's. It was full of emotion and honesty. Although the full letter has not been shared with the public, those who have read it say it showed how troubled she was in her final months. Despite being one of the most famous people in the world, Diana felt lonely and unseen. After her divorce from Prince Charles, she tried to start fresh. She traveled, focused on her charity work, and began a relationship with Dodi Fayed. But deep down, she felt tired, emotionally drained, and isolated. Friends close to her described her as struggling more and more, even though she continued to smile for the cameras. The reopening of her tomb and these new findings don't give us all the answers. But they do remind us that even decades later, Princess Diana's life and death still stir powerful emotions. And that maybe, there's more to the story than we thought. Princess Diana often felt anxious, watched, and overwhelmed by a sense that something terrible was coming. The handwritten note found inside a small jewelry box buried with her hinted at this fear. In the letter, she expressed a deep worry that someone was planning an accident involving her car. She had shared similar concerns with her lawyer and her butler, Paul Burrell. Whether it was just fear or something more, her feelings were real. She was scared, isolated, and desperate for safety in a world that no longer felt safe. The letter felt like a silent cry for help, a message she left behind in case no one ever understood how much pressure she was under. Diana may not have been able to stop what happened, but she made sure to leave something behind, proof that she felt danger closing in. Along with the note, other personal items were buried with her, small tokens that revealed her inner world. These objects, though private and simple, spoke volumes about who Diana was and what she valued most. One of the most touching was a gold locket placed in her hands. Inside were tiny photographs of her sons, William and Harry. This wasn't just jewelry. It was a symbol of her fierce love and devotion to her children. That locket showed what mattered most to her: her role as a mother. Even after her separation from Prince Charles, her bond with her sons had only grown stronger. The locket was like a final hug from a mother who always tried to protect her children, even in death. Another item buried with her was a small crystal charm engraved with the words, "Always believe." At first glance, it looked like a simple gift. But for Diana, it was a reminder of hope. Throughout her life, she had been through a lot: heartbreak, betrayal, and constant pressure from the media. Yet she always held on to the belief that things could get better. This charm reflected her quiet strength, the way she stayed true to herself despite everything. She once said she didn't want to be the queen of a country, but the queen of people's hearts. That little charm was a piece of that dream, an echo of her kindness and courage. When Diana died in the car crash on August 31, 1997, the world mourned. But behind the public grief was a very personal challenge for her family, especially her brother, Charles Spencer. Diana had always been deeply sensitive, full of emotion, and wanting to help others. Choosing where to bury her was not a simple decision. Instead of a royal tomb or a grand cathedral, Charles chose a quiet and private place. A small island at the center of a lake on their family's Althorpe estate, where Diana had spent part of her childhood. This wasn't just a beautiful or peaceful location, it was chosen to protect her. At the time, the emotions were so high and the public attention so intense that her brother feared people might visit her grave too much or even disturb it. He wanted to make sure she had peace. A special bridge was built to carry her coffin to the island, and afterward, the bridge was removed so no one could easily reach it. This private resting place allowed Diana to finally rest in the calm and quiet she had longed for in life. These details, her fears, the buried tokens, the letter, and her peaceful resting place, paint a deeper picture of Princess Diana. She was more than just a royal or a media icon. She was a woman who felt deeply, loved fiercely, and faced constant pressure while still trying to bring kindness to the world. Her story, even decades later, continues to touch hearts and raise questions. Charles Spencer, Diana's brother, once said that the lake around her grave acts as a natural barrier. The muddy ground and water make it very difficult for people to get close to the island. That's exactly what he wanted, a place where Diana could rest undisturbed and where her sons, Prince William and Prince Harry, could visit her in peace and privacy. The path leading to the island is lined with 36 oak trees, one for each year of Diana's life. These trees weren't just planted by gardeners. Members of the royal family, including Queen Elizabeth and Prince William, helped plant them. While the grave itself is private and not open to the public, there is a nearby memorial called the Temple where visitors can come to pay their respects. This memorial features quotes from Diana herself, as well as a message from Charles's speech at her funeral. For some time, there was even a museum at the Althorpe estate that displayed Diana's dresses, jewelry, letters, and personal videos. Though the museum closed in 2014, the estate still opens to the public during summer, allowing people to reflect on her life and legacy. To understand the shock around the recent discoveries, it's important to look at the many theories that were once dismissed as conspiracy. In 2008, 10 years after the tragic car crash, Mohammed Al-Fayed, father of Diana's companion Dodi Fayed, made some serious claims. He insisted that Diana was pregnant and that the couple had planned to marry. According to him, the royal family strongly opposed the idea of Diana marrying a Muslim man. He believed that their disapproval led to a dark plan to prevent the marriage from ever happening. Al-Fayed didn't keep his accusations vague. He named specific people in court, including Prince Philip, Prince Charles, former Prime Minister Tony Blair, and even Diana's own sister, Sarah McCorquodale. He also claimed that senior police officers and intelligence agencies like the CIA were involved in a cover-up. The royal family never responded publicly to these claims, but their silence only increased public curiosity and suspicion. Questions also surrounded the handling of Diana's body. Some conspiracy theorists argued that she was embalmed unusually quickly, possibly to hide a pregnancy. However, the official investigation known as Operation Paget tested the blood collected at the crash site and found no signs of pregnancy hormones. Still, doubts remained for many people. They pointed to odd facts like the delay in getting Diana to the hospital, missing footage from security cameras, and how quickly the crash site was cleaned up. Diana herself had confided in her butler and spiritual advisor, saying she feared for her life. In her famous 1995 BBC interview, she admitted feeling threatened. Looking back, those comments felt deeply troubling. More questions were raised about the car's driver, Henri Paul. He earned a modest salary of about $35,000 a year, yet had over $200,000 in savings. Former MI6 agent Richard Tomlinson suggested that Paul might have been working as an informant, maybe even paid to cause the crash. But investigators said there was no link to intelligence agencies and claimed his extra money came from rental properties. Another mystery was the white Fiat Uno that clipped Diana's Mercedes before the crash. Paint from that car was found on Diana's vehicle, proving that contact happened. Some believed the Fiat was driven by a French photographer named James Ananson, who was rumored to have ties to MI6. He denied any involvement and claimed he was home with his wife at the time. But in 2000, he was found dead in a burned-out car, adding even more mystery to the already troubling story. These strange details, unanswered questions, and lingering doubts have kept the public searching for the full truth about what really happened to Princess Diana. Her life, death, and the secrets that still surround both continue to capture the world's attention, even decades later. The incident was officially ruled a tragic accident caused by speeding and driver error, but many people have continued to question that conclusion. A witness claimed to see a bright flash just before the crash, something that some believe MI6 used in secret operations to distract or disorient drivers. However, both French and British investigations found no evidence of such a flash. What they did confirm was that the driver, Henri Paul, had been drinking, had taken prescription drugs, was speeding, and no one in the car, including bodyguard Trevor Rees-Jones, the only survivor, was wearing a seatbelt. One of the most talked about parts of the case is the decision to embalm Diana's body almost immediately after her death. Mohammed Al-Fayed, Dodi Fayed's father, believed this was done deliberately to hide a pregnancy. He believed Diana was carrying Dodi's child and that someone powerful didn't want the world to find out. On the surface, it sounds like a dramatic theory, but it's the strange timing that continues to raise questions. According to the official UK investigation, Operation Paget, it was a very hot day in Paris. Diana's body had been placed in a small, unused room near the emergency department at Pitti-Salpêtrière Hospital because the main mortuary was far away. Staff used dry ice and air conditioning to try to cool the room, but it wasn't enough. Diana's sisters and Prince Charles were due to see the body later that day, and even the French President and First Lady wanted to pay their respects. Presenting the princess in a poor state wasn't acceptable, so the hospital decided to embalm her body. The problem: they went ahead without the required legal documents. Instead of written permission, they acted on verbal approval from a police superintendent. The paperwork was signed only after the embalming had already taken place. This unusual decision, made under pressure and without full legal clearance, gave fuel to theories that something was being hidden. However, Dr. Robert Chapman, who performed the post-mortem exam in the UK, said that embalming fluids would not have affected pregnancy tests. If Diana had been pregnant, there would have been signs in her uterus or ovaries, and none were found. Still, the concern isn't just about the science. It's about the timing. Why was there such a rush? Why not wait a few more hours and follow proper procedures? Another major question is about how long it took to get Diana from the crash site to the hospital. The emergency call was made at 12:26 a.m., but the ambulance didn't reach the hospital until 2 a.m. That's an hour and 40 minutes to travel only a few miles. To understand this, we need to look at how emergency services work in France. Unlike in the UK or the US, where ambulances rush patients to hospitals, the French use a stay-and-play approach. This means doctors try to treat and stabilize the patient on the spot before transporting them. Firefighters arrived quickly after the crash, and emergency doctor Jean-Marc Martineau got there around 12:40 a.m. Diana was still alive but severely injured. She went into cardiac arrest, was resuscitated, and was finally placed in the ambulance at 1:18 a.m. But even then, the ambulance didn't leave right away. It stayed on the scene until 1:40 a.m. And while heading to the hospital, it made an unexpected stop near Gare d'Austerlitz station because Diana's blood pressure had dropped again. Dr. Martineau ordered the driver to go slowly, worried that sudden movements could make her condition worse. This led many to ask, why wasn't she taken to Hotel du Hospital, which was much closer? Would a quicker response or shorter route have made a difference? That question has never been fully answered. Perhaps the most unsettling mystery of all is the complete lack of CCTV footage. Paris is full of traffic cameras, especially in the area near the Pont d'Alma tunnel where the crash happened. Yet, authorities have said there was no working footage of the crash itself. Many find this hard to believe, and the absence of video evidence has only deepened suspicion around what really happened that night. The lack of answers to these critical questions, the missing footage, the quick embalming, and the odd decisions made during the rescue, all continue to feed the belief that there may have been more to Diana's death than an accident. Even decades later, the world is still searching for the full truth. The complete absence of CCTV footage from the night Princess Diana died remains one of the most disturbing and enduring mysteries surrounding her death. In a city as heavily surveilled as Paris, especially around a high-profile area like the Pont d'Alma underpass, it defies belief for many that not a single camera captured her vehicle's final journey. According to The Independent, 2006, more than 14 CCTV cameras were situated in the area. A police investigation led by Lieutenant Eric Jigu retraced the car's path and identified 10 specific cameras, but none had usable footage. Most of them were privately owned and pointed at building entrances, not the street. Even more suspicious was the traffic monitoring camera directly above the tunnel, which was owned by the Paris Urban Traffic Unit. That camera, investigators found, didn't record. Its feed was live only, and the system shut down at 11 p.m. each night. So by the time Diana's car approached the tunnel after midnight, it was already offline. The preservation of Diana's body. Adding another layer to the intrigue was how well preserved Diana's body reportedly appeared, despite the crash and the embalming process. One mortuary worker allegedly remarked how surprisingly intact she was, which reignited claims that something was being deliberately concealed, specifically, a pregnancy. Though official autopsies found no sign of pregnancy, conspiracy theorists have pointed to an alleged anonymous source who claimed that embryonic tissue was unusually preserved in the pelvic area. This, they argue, could have been the very evidence critics say authorities were trying to erase when they fast-tracked the embalming. The black cocktail dress and fabric cut. Diana was wearing a black cocktail dress the night she died, and it was reportedly buried with her. But later reports claimed that a piece of the hem had been cut away, apparently for forensic analysis. Who took it? When? And why? Some theorists link this to claims from former MI6 agent Richard Tomlinson, who testified that British intelligence had plans for assassinations involving high-speed crashes in tunnels, eerily resembling the actual event. If MI6 were tailing her that night, or worse, had planted someone in her circle, then a fabric sample might have been taken for chemical or residue testing. The implications are deeply unsettling. The locket and the handwritten letter. Among the most emotional discoveries tied to Diana's burial are two deeply personal items. A locket engraved with the letters D and M, believed to stand for Diana and Mohammed, Dodi's given name. This detail, not disclosed publicly until years later, hints that her relationship with Dodi Fayed was not only serious but potentially heading toward engagement or marriage. This undermines claims that it was a mere summer romance and strengthens the theory that she was targeted due to this planned union. A folded handwritten letter, allegedly written by Diana herself, was buried beneath a favorite photo of William and Harry. It contained haunting phrases like hunted, fearing, and accident, almost identical to the now famous 1995 letter she gave to her butler Paul Burrell, where she expressed fears that someone is planning an accident in my car. If this letter really was buried with her, it raises enormous questions. Was it placed there by someone who feared it would be suppressed otherwise? Was it Diana's own attempt to leave a message from beyond? So, what are we left with? No CCTV footage of the car's route or crash. An oddly well-preserved body and rushed embalming with verbal-only approval. A fabric sample mysteriously removed from her dress. A locket bearing Dodi's initial. A buried note echoing her darkest fears. Each of these details may be explainable on its own, but together, they form a picture that continues to disturb, puzzle, and drive speculation. Whether you believe her death was a tragic accident or something far more sinister, what's certain is that Princess Diana herself sensed danger, and tried, in her own quiet ways, to leave behind a trail for us to follow. The final threads of Princess Diana's story, as described, create a haunting mosaic of legacy, mystery, and unspoken truths. From the rosary reportedly placed in her hand, gifted by Mother Teresa, who passed away just days after Diana, to the unopened emotional vault found in her reopened tomb, every element echoes with symbolic weight. The rosary and Mother Teresa connection. To some, the rosary seemed like a spiritual touch, an emblem of peace, prayer, or eternal rest. But the proximity of their deaths, Diana on August 31, 1997, and Mother Teresa on September 5, 1997, sparked speculation. Both women were icons of compassion, revered globally, yet burdened with immense personal struggles. Their near-simultaneous passing felt to many like a cosmic shift, the quiet exit of two of the world's most cherished humanitarians. Was it simply coincidence, or, as some believe, a quiet message, perhaps divine or symbolic, about peace following turmoil, martyrdom through service, or even a passing of spiritual torches? The reopened tomb and whispers from the grave. When Diana's tomb at Althorpe was reopened in 2023 for security and restoration work, it did not bring closure. Instead, it deepened the mystery. Allegedly recovered items, like the note hidden with a photograph, the cut fabric, and the intertwined initials on the locket, weren't just sentimental. They hinted at unanswered fears, a silenced future, messages preserved in case they couldn't be spoken aloud. Each object seemed to tell a part of the story Diana never got to finish. And as those who adored her continue to look for meaning, the mystery only grows. Diana's true legacy, compassion in action. But for all the darkness and conspiracy, what stands as unquestionable truth is the light Diana brought into the world. When she shook hands with an AIDS patient in 1987, she broke fear-based stigma with a single human gesture. When she walked through live minefields in Angola, she wasn't just raising awareness. She was risking her life to demand change. Her countless visits to hospitals, her genuine love for children, and her refusal to put protocol above people redefined what royalty could be. She made the world more compassionate, open, and human, and that is a legacy no theory or rumor can touch. Through her sons, she still speaks. Both Prince William and Prince Harry have carried her spirit forward, focusing on mental health, humanitarian work, and honest conversation. They frequently credit their mother for teaching them to see people not by their status, but by their suffering, needs, and hearts. Final thought. In life, Diana fought quietly but fiercely, for her sons, for the vulnerable, for truth. In death, she remains both a symbol of love and a figure cloaked in mystery. Whether one believes in conspiracies or coincidences, this much is clear. Princess Diana didn't just wear a crown of jewels, she wore a crown of empathy. And that is why, nearly 3 decades later, the world still mourns, still questions, and still remembers.